Hi, today this video is about having a fear of happiness, a fear of being happy. Something I've thought about for the past couple of years is, why am I afraid to be happy? I actually can look back on my high school years, I guess is when I first realized it, that I actually have a fear of being happy. I remember in high school, I had taken a trip to Mexico with my Spanish class, and I remember it was about a week-long trip, and it was amazing that I was able to go, and I had a really good time. But when I came back, I was very depressed because it was over. And I just remember feeling so down and depressed that I thought it wasn't even worth it to go because of how bad I felt afterwards. Well, the following year, there was an opportunity to take a trip to Spain, and my mother and I were talking about whether I should go or not. And at the time, I was seeing a psychiatrist, and I was telling him that I was debating whether to go or not. I think I was about 17 years old, and I told him, somehow it came out of me that I was afraid to go because of how I felt after the Mexico trip, because this was like a 10-day trip, and I didn't want to feel that letdown when it was over. I didn't want to feel that depression and that sadness when it was all over. And I literally wasn't going to go. I wasn't going to take the opportunity to go because I was afraid of how I was going to feel when it was all over. So I did end up going, and I don't really remember how I felt when I got home. Probably some sadness or whatever that it was over, but maybe not enough to really stick in my head. But when I look back at that now, I realize that it goes a lot deeper than just a trip or a vacation or something that you're looking forward to. But I think I've actually had a fear my whole life of being happy. And I think it kind of connects also with a fear of having hope, because I think when you come from a background where there's a lot of stress and trauma and, waiting for the shoe to drop between events in your home, domestic violence events or abuse, some kind of abuse, there's, you have the event, you have the fight or the abuse. There's sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, and then there's domestic violence where your dad's beating up your mother, or vice versa, or there's any kind of abuse or high stress going on. It's not happening 24/7. So when it's not happening in between those circumstances or events, there might be a quietness for a while, but you never know when it's going to happen again. So there's this constant dread or stress feeling. In my situation, my father was a commercial fisherman, so he would go out for like a week or 2 weeks, where we would have a semi-normal life where there was some peace, and then he'd come home, and then the violent tirades would begin again. But I think during those times of peace, when you maybe start to feel a little bit safe or a little bit of peace, and then each time it gets crushed, you start to fear having a hope for peace or safety or happiness. I think you start to be afraid to let your guard down, I think it's something about letting your guard down, because even to this day, I feel like I've always been fearful of being happy, even in situations like if I'm excited about something like maybe getting a new job, or I've entered some kind of a writing contest, or something where I'm really getting my hopes up and getting excited that something good could happen to me, or I start a new protocol that could potentially make me healthy because it's helped other people, and I sign up for a program or whatever, and I have this high hope that something good's going to come of it and I'm going to get well, or whatever the case may be. You're getting your hopes up and you're starting to feel like a little bit happy, and then the protocol doesn't work and you get let down, or the contest that you entered, you never hear from them, you don't win, or whatever the situation is. But it's like you get your hopes up and then they crash. You get your hopes up and then they crash. You start to let your guard down, feel a little bit happy, and then something happens. And so I think it's been set up in childhood that we almost, well, we do. I think we can fear being happy. And that's something that I still struggle with. Like, I don't want to be afraid to be happy because, well, fear is not of God anyway. Fear is a tormenting, demonic spirit that just grips your brain and steals your joy, because God certainly isn't the one saying, don't be happy, you should fear happiness. That's Satan whispering in our ears. So we need to stop listening to that voice. So I think it's definitely something I know I need to work on, because I don't want to live the rest of my life being afraid to be happy. Because even if it's just for moments of happiness, or even if I just have a week of feeling hopeful or excited about something, that hopeful, exciting feeling is such a wonderful, powerful, peaceful, joyful feeling. Even if it does end up not coming to pass, the thing that I'm hoping for, just that week of feeling that way, is it worth it? Sometimes I think maybe it is, because it feels good while it's happening, even if I don't get what I hoped for. But something to think about. Do you fear happiness? Are you afraid to be happy? Because I don't think that's God's will for us. And I think that's something we need to pray about and ask the Lord to help us with that. I don't want to be afraid to be happy. I want to be happy. I want to enjoy my life, even if things don't go as I would like them to. We can still choose joy. We do get to choose. We get to choose to be happy. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I'm not always good at that, but I'm working on it, and I hope that you will too. Have a good day, and try not to be afraid to be happy.